So I think from now on I'm going to continue talking about specific characters for a while because I think it's a little bit funner than talking about just general Overwatch, but I do want to go into, more specific things about characters. I think my Genji video yesterday probably was, again, probably too general, talking about general things about Genji that most people already know. I want to go into some more deep things, I guess, about D.Va today, and talk about how she's actually going to fit into this meta compared to fitting into every meta of all time. So there you go with that. Just trying to get that out as a quick announcement. But with that said, today I want to talk to you guys about why you should maybe be playing D.Va in the tank meta or the dive meta. Now, I guess the one general thing I'm going to say right now is that we don't really know if the next meta is going to become a dive meta again or a tank meta, but they both seem to be the most likely. With the spam comp getting out of the way, dive meta could easily move itself back in, or tank meta could easily again move itself back in with a lot more Ana and more being played. I can't really say which is going to be the way that's going to happen right now, so I'm just going to talk about both with D.Va because honestly, she fits really well with both of those. So let's just begin talking about tank meta because that's what I feel like quite a few people are saying is probably going to happen, more likely than dive meta, even though it's kind of about 50-50. So if you're playing D.Va in tank meta, she can be a very valuable pick in this. And I think the most valuable thing about having D.Va in tank meta is that she can easily act as the second DPS tank, which is kind of weird, but she can essentially act as a off DPS tank type of character. She has some of the most bursts as any tank in the game, of course, just with shift, melee, E, shooting them, all your abilities together, obviously finish off a lot of kills. But I think specifically if you play like Reinhardt, Roadhog, and D.Va, you can have the Reinhardt or Orisa for a lot of shields, a lot of protection, time to heal up, and then Roadhog and D.Va together to get out a huge amount of damage on the enemies. And honestly, that damage can often kind of equal out the amount of damage an enemy DPS might be able to do, maybe a little bit less. But since you have so much healing coming your way, and still a decent amount of burst, and since you're probably not going to die because you're a tank compared to all the other DPS, that might be just enough to make tank off DPS, I guess, D.Va, be a decent role in that sense. I guess you could kind of mention that, Zarya can do a very similar thing to D.Va in this role, but I think D.Va is going to be a bit better because she has more mobility, which is pretty nice in tank meta because most characters don't have that much mobility. So you simply having it, I think, gives you obvious advantage in a lot of situations. Now, if we kind of switch over to dive meta right here, I think D.Va has essentially just always been a good dive character. I think we all know that ever since the beginning of the game, even when she wasn't that great of a character, even before all the reworks, yeah, she was still a good dive character. And she can just kind of go immediately back to what she was doing in the meta before the Mercy meta. And I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that the D.Va update made, dive a little bit stronger, but I don't think she was in the dive update for too long with her updated kit. So I think it'd be kind of cool to see D.Va back in the dive meta with a little bit more damage now and not really having to worry about the Mercy weight too much, because even before that, you kind of had to worry about the res and everything. But now you don't have to worry about that nearly as much. You can, again, get into the enemy backline, probably play with something like a Winston, and then just jump in together and not have a triple tank, have something like a Genji or a Tracer along with you, and then a Lucio, and just do the simple old dive that she's always been able to do, but with a little bit more damage now. I think one problem about this new D.Va is that it is going to be kind of harder for you to know when to initiate, because if you initiate before your Winston at all, you're going to have to waste all of your defense matrix, and you're essentially just going to kind of throw away any defensives that you have as dive, and obviously you don't need way too much, but like an enemy Zarya ult can really just screw up your dive. So again, try to wait a little bit until the friendly Winston goes in, because you don't want to have to waste a lot of your resources that you honestly don't have that much of anymore. That of course mainly being the defense matrix. So in this new meta, there we go with the dive and the tank as far as my opinions go with D.Va. I feel like there's also going to be a lot more flankers though in the newest meta. Of course, if it is tank meta, there's probably going to be Reaper and Junkrat and a few characters to try to counteract the tanks. But also, there always shows up a decent amount of flankers, which is something that you wouldn't really think, because the flankers can't kill the tanks almost at all. I mean, they're essentially, the tanks are invincible to the flankers, but the flankers can kill the enemy supports. And if they kill the enemy supports, you have 3 tanks, they have 3 tanks, but you have 1 less support. You're going to be kind of screwed in a lot of situations. They just have so much more healing than you, or you have so much more healing than them, and you can kind of just win like that. Supports really are an important target in tank meta, and playing a flanker compared to playing, let's just say, like a Reaper or a Roadhog, not a Roadhog, a Reaper or a Junkrat or a Soldier, while it might not do as much damage to the tanks, again, it can get kills on those supports. And I feel like D.Va is going to be a good pick to counteract those flankers that are trying to kill your supports, because D.Va wants to keep those supports alive. She does, of course, very well with a ton of HP being spammed towards her. and you can fly towards the flankers, which not much of the other tanks can do. While Zarya can put a shield on your supports and help them out for half a second, she can't really apply any peel, and I don't really think any of the tanks can apply that much peel other than, you know, maybe hitting a hook with Roadhog. But with D.Va, you can get out of formation, fly next to your supports, simply body block some of the damage if you really need to, try to freak out the enemy flankers, make them go back, and then go back near the front line and just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I think if you are playing D.Va in this new meta and you do see a flanker, play very defensively, try to protect your healers, and that will help you win quite often. And I do think that we are going to be seeing, maybe not more flankers, but just still a large amount of flankers, because there always are a lot. And in this new meta, it's still going to kind of support playing them, even if it is triple tank, which you normally would think, you know, isn't that great. That's why. Ana and Moira, I think, could also be a decent thing to play with D.Va, honestly. And this is something a lot of people haven't really talked about, because I guess it is kind of similar to Dive, but I feel like a Ana Moira Death Ball, just with a huge amount of healing, might have a possibility of becoming the next meta as well. And I think D.Va would work perfectly in that. Imagine this: D.Va, Reinhardt, Winston, or, you know, essentially any other tank. Let's just replace the Winston with a Zarya. That could just essentially create a ball. They all walk forward. You throw in the Moira Orb. You throw in the grenade to boost the Moira Orb. They both start healing all your tanks at the same time. There's just a lot of synergy going in with that. And as well, tanks actually synergize with other tanks quite well. I think, you know, just putting a Zarya shield on all the other tanks just essentially gives you all of your ult, all of your charge really quickly, which helps you get really early ultimates. With D.Va, you can ult into a Zarya ult or into a Reinhardt ult. That's just a nice combination that I feel like could kind of just blast through a lot of DPSs, honestly. And maybe that could be what happens. I think overall the D.Va just kind of works with every support in the game. If you need a Mercy, you can kind of play defensively. If you need an Ana/Moira, you can make a Death Ball type comp. Or if you need to just do like a super big tank comp, triple tank, you could play, again, Ana, Mercy. And even if you want to play a different type of dive comp, you could play Lucio with something like an Ana. She kind of just fits into everything, which I guess is kind of nice. And yeah, she does allow for a lot of synergy with Death Ball, if that kind of becomes a thing that does show up. So with D.Va right now, a thing that I guess I haven't really mentioned that much, but I think is important, is that right now she does have the highest win rate of any tank in the game, probably because the spam comp with a Riz is away. But do remember that D.Va's not only, in theory, crafting a good character with all these heroes that are going to become strong again and they're going to become playable again. D.Va has always been one of the best tanks in the game for the past few seasons, and right now she is statistically the best tank, and I'm not really thinking of a way that somebody could surpass her unless Reinhardt becomes extremely strong again, which could possibly happen, but I think D.Va is going to become still probably the best tank, honestly. And a thing about that is that D.Va has pretty much always had the most tank players in the top 500. She has overall good versatility, overall good ways to get kills, overall a nice ultimate to just pop the entire enemy team, and she can play defensively and offensively, everything like that. That's pretty general, but I do think that she's going to just continue to be probably the best tank in the game unless some changes happen to her, which don't seem like they're going to happen because no one's really complaining too much about D.Va. But I guess now that the Mercy nerfs have come through, D.Va might be the next one to kind of get hit. So I guess that is one bad thing you might want to worry about a little bit. If Reddit starts complaining, D.Va might get a few big nerfs. So those are all the good things about D.Va. I think, you know, I don't want to repeat them, but there you go, all the good things I think about this character. But right now I want to talk about a few bad things that might kind of happen to her in this meta. I don't think that they're going to be game breaking. I don't think that they're going to really make her much of a worse pick, but these are things you might want to kind of keep in mind when playing this character. So first off, Sombra is going to become quite a bit stronger. Now, Sombra has always been a pretty good character, depending on the player, and I'm going to talk about her probably tomorrow or the next day, honestly. But with the Mercy nerf just kind of going out there, Sombra just in general, at least from Fitzy here and a lot of other Sombra players that have been watching, say she is going to be stronger. And she's obviously a pretty clear counter for D.Va. D.Va can't use her abilities, can't go in, can't play defensively. It's really hard for her to play against Sombra. In triple tank, I don't think it's nearly as hard because there's so much walls that can be put up and so much bodies that can block the Sombra hack. But especially if, let's say, we're going back into dive comp, I think Sombra could be a good pick against that. And as well, there's quite a few more Mei players, I feel like, and she can also be a pretty hard thing for you to deal with as D.Va. If you do happen to face against a Mei player, though, you should probably just shift away, and there's not much you can do, I guess, other than just try to spam icicles at you. And the final thing I want to talk about is that D.Va was really, in the last meta, a great pick because she could counter Mercy, she could counter Widowmaker Mercy, she could counter Mercy. But now that Mercy's kind of gone, will that lessen how important it is to have her on your team, and will it maybe make it more important to have, again, a nicer ultimate with something like Zarya, or more pick potential with something like Roadhog? We can't really know that for now. We're going to kind of have to wait for that for now. I think she still does have some nice supports that she counters, and I think especially she can kill Zenyatta, so if he becomes very meta, that might be her new main target as far as a support role goes. But I don't think you should worry too much about this. I think it's just something that might float around a little bit, that people might say, hey, this is kind of bad. She doesn't have any big characters she counters anymore. No, I think she still is going to be pretty good overall. But anyway, that's all my ideas about D.Va are. I do want to mention that I am a D.Va main this season, so I do think that I probably have the most credibility on this character compared to any of the other characters I talk about. I watch as much D.Va as I can in the Overwatch League. I really like this character, but do remember again, you know, I might get some stuff wrong, so if you have any of your own different opinions, please leave that down in the comment section down below, or tell me how strong do you think D.Va is going to be in your own opinion. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.